it could be our environment. We are so stressed these days with everything. There doesn't seem to be any downtime for the body just to kind of relax because the adrenal glands are just pumping all the time. And so where is it going to go? And then a lot of times that stress will go to the weakest part of the body. And for a lot of people, it's the colon. The colon is our second brain. And if something happens with that, it can create all sorts of other things.
So is this a chronic condition? Is IBS a chronic condition, or is it something that goes away in some patients?
In some patients, it may go away. I said just remission. There is no cure for it. But yes, it is a chronic condition.
And it's so confusing what's going on in the gut. What's going on in there? We have a lot of bacteria, and in these conditions, the bacteria is attacking the gut, or the gut is reacting to the bacteria by trying to attack the bacteria. How does it work?
Okay, so what happens
confusing.
is naturally, yeah, that's fine. So no, it's like naturally what happens in our gut is there's billions of different types of bacteria, funguses, all this other stuff that's in there. Basically the colon is our waste system. So what can happen with that is that for those that are prone to constipation, you get what's called leaky gut, which is where the colon toxins start leaking out and starts creating damage in there because of the toxins that you have because you're not moving the bowels the way you should be. So that's one reason that could happen. Another thing, too, is food allergies. Food allergies can come in and can really wreak havoc, basically everywhere. So you take that along with toxins that are coming out from the leaky gut, then that's when you can start getting more irritation on top of that because you're eating stuff that you shouldn't be having and it's creating more irritation. The other thing that can happen as well from this is that anxiety can also cause inflammation in the gut as well. So sometimes it's the anxiety and the stress, everyday stress that we have that can build up to where all of a sudden it's just like, the body's like, okay, I'm done, and creates that inflammation. And then also the food related to it, and then also, too, a decrease in our probiotics or a good gut flora from overuse of antibiotics and also some other medications which can irritate the gut lining can actually cause a lot of this IBS stuff.
Gotcha. So, Dr. Burns, we need to take a break, but when we come back, let's talk more about the digestive system and also how marijuana therapy can help.
We will be right back once you get to know our sponsors.
Ganjapreneur.com, your guide to the cannabis business world. Ganjapreneur.com is a comprehensive resource for cannabis professionals and entrepreneurs. Download the Ganjapreneur app on your smartphone or tablet to catch up on cannabis industry news, scroll through our daily job listings, and learn about successful cannabis companies, executives, and investors. Ganjapreneur.com, helping Ganjapreneurs grow.
MJWellness.com, the largest medical marijuana community in the world. Connect with thousands of patients, doctors, industry leaders, and businesses through shared personal experiences along our worldwide network. Discover new therapies and benefits with content tailored to you. Come grow your network on MJWellness.com. You're not alone. Your wellness matters. Learn, live, and thrive. Check out MJWellness.com today.
Educator, author, and advocate Dr. Mitch Earlywine is here to tackle the burning issues.
And I'm here to clear up the myths about cannabis and burn them away with science.
CannabisRadio.com presents a no-holds-barred platform that seeks to redefine and revolutionize the entire scope of the cannabis culture while opening the door for more to join the cannabis crusade.
Dr. Kevin Hill.
You can't ignore the fact that, like alcohol, most people who use don't have a problem. So I think that you need to think about policy in that way while educating people properly about marijuana. I think that's the way to go.
Burning Issues, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Just Say No, spelled KNOW, is back with more conversation about curing and healing with cannabis, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back to Just Say No. I'm Ryan Hunt from MJWellness.com. We've been discussing IBS and various digestive disorders with our guest, Dr. Jennifer Burns. So, Dr. Burns, when did you first learn about marijuana as therapy for IBS?
Actually, it was probably about 5 years ago when the laws came into effect in Arizona. Previously, before that, I knew it had good benefit for pain management. My father had incurable cancer, and I was seeing what he was going through. He lived in a state that didn't have marijuana legalized at the time. And I mean, the morphine and the Percocet he was on wasn't helping out with the pain. I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's got to be something else for this. So that's what really got me into marijuana and realizing the anti-inflammatory aspects of it. There are other plants that I already knew of that had anti-inflammatory effects in them with the cannabinoids. Like echinacea has cannabinoids in it. Jamaican dogwood actually has cannabinoids in it. And believe it or not, licorice root actually has cannabinoids in it and is anti-inflammatory. So I kind of knew about that aspect to begin with, but the marijuana has the more concentrated aspects of those cannabinoids that really help reduce muscle spasms and inflammation. And since I've been doing medical marijuana certifications in Phoenix, Arizona, I've been noticing that a lot of my IBS patients have gotten tons of relief. They're able to function normally again. They don't have the nausea that they had before. They can actually eat now because they actually have an appetite being on the marijuana, which gives them the energy that they need for them to actually be a productive member of society.
You're probably one of the first doctors who is actually doing this out of your practice. Is that right?
Yes, I was one of the first physicians in Phoenix when the laws first passed who was doing medical marijuana certifications.
How have people responded to it so far? I guess, do other doctors, are they getting there? How do you feel within the community? Are people being more open and receptive to it? Are patients asking for it?
It depends. There are some doctors that are still very skeptical about it just because there's not a lot of research that has been done. There's a lot of patients who are very open to it because they've tried everything else and they can't get any relief from all the medications that they've been on for their IBS. They still get the flare-ups. They still have the anxiety, or they just don't feel like eating or even leaving the house because of the way the medicines that they're on is making them feel. So with them switching over to medical marijuana, a lot of them have noticed big difference. They've noticed that they're not having the flare-ups as much as they were. They're not having the nausea as much as they were. But besides that, I also talk to them about diet, about food allergens, about removing those, so then that way they can have a full life back and not have to worry about leaving their house and having to map everything out or having anxiety about leaving the house and thinking, that they have to know where the bathrooms are and if they can make it there in time.
Do you see patients come in, start using cannabis therapy, and they go into remission, or does cannabis therapy help the symptoms? My own personal experience, I feel like when I use cannabis, it might be the number one thing that helps control my ulcerative colitis. Now, I've changed my diet. I've tried to live a healthy lifestyle, but it seems like cannabis has such a big effect, and I'm really shocked by it. Are other patients getting that same level of relief where they even go into remission by using cannabis?
Yes, a lot of them have. It depends on the degree of the IBS, but a lot of them are seeing remission. A lot of them are seeing the inflammation go down. A lot of them are saying that their bowel movements are now normal and that they're actually are able to eat and not have to feel like that they have to rush to the bathroom, or that they are able to get sleep at night because they're not having to wake up in the morning and here again, like rush to the bathroom. There seems to be something for a lot of the IBS patients between like 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning that causes most of the inflammation for them, that, that's able to subside because they've been able to be on marijuana for the anti-inflammatory effect, where they don't have to wake up and have any anxiety to think that, like, oh my gosh, now I have to go, and they're woken up from sleep and having to go to the bathroom.
What do you suggest people try? I guess my question is, Do you suggest they use a 1-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC? What's your feeling? I'm sure a lot of your patients don't want to have that feeling of being high. And do you start them out on a CBD? Is that effective as THC in anti-inflammatory?
Well, in the state of Arizona, here our dispensaries are the ones who go through dosage and recommending of plants. For those, most of my patients who have IBS already are prone towards anxiety and depression. And what my patients have told me from first-person experience is that the higher the THC, the more their anxiety and depression gets worse with their IBS. So I started recommending, I said, look, when you go to the dispensary, find one that's lower in THC, higher in the cannabinoids, because they're getting the same aspect there as far as relief goes with the nausea, with the inflammation, with the anxiety that comes along with it. But they're not getting the head high. They'll still be able to get the sleep that they need at night for it, and here again, without having to feel groggy in the morning because they don't have that head high. But it really works for them on that aspect because you're looking at an anti-inflammatory effect from basically 2 or 3 different angles. Not only the THC, because you can still have low THC and still have an anti-inflammatory, antispasmodic effect, but with the higher cannabinoids, we're working with a whole different system. We're working with the immune system. We're working with anti-inflammatory. So we're seeing this from like 2 different ways with a couple of compounds that's coming from the plant. I'm sure there are many more compounds that are being utilized in this that we haven't even gotten into yet. They're also going in and really benefiting those who have the IBS.
When I know you don't recommend, or you leave it up to the dispensaries to really kind of give the recommendations on what people should be trying, but how do you feel about, I feel like edibles are more effective for me. Do your patients talk about how much they take during a day? Do they always have to have it in their system? Do they have a vape pen they carry with them during the day?
It depends. Most of the patients who've come back to me, some of them say that them like vaporizing seems to work better for them than edibles. I have some that say that the edibles work better than when they were vaporizing. I have some that say that the tincture works better for them than the edibles and also the vaporizing or smoking it. So because everyone's experience is so different with it and with the different plants, you know, everyone's results are going to end up being different. So I get a combination of answers. You know, every time I see my patients, I'm like, I wish I had a Star Trek tricorder and I could just scan you and say, all right, this is the one that your body needs.
Yeah, and it does. It affects everybody so differently. It's really hard to say. Even what I take on a daily basis, some days it's effective and some days I'm too high, you know? It must be a tough thing for a new patient to walk into and learn about and to have a dosing schedule that works for them.
Yes, definitely. So, I mean, that's why it's kind of like trial and error. I'm sure that our dispensaries basically have people dose low and then kind of go up from there. So especially for first-timers that are doing it, you know, I mean, it's like they always need to dose low to make sure that this is going to be a right fit for them, you know, because if they dose too high, and then a lot of times they can get scared from it because they're not quite exactly sure what's going on.
Well, this is a good place for a break, but when we come back, let's talk a little bit about the center that you run and other conditions you see marijuana therapy helping.
Sounds good.
We will be right back once you get to know our sponsors.
Dr. Dabber, hurry! Its temperature is shooting past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's burning up.
I'm afraid for this little guy, it's just too late.
What caused the problem?
Only Dr. Dabber can maintain the perfect temperature for a smooth-tasting, slower burn. This standard vaporizer lost all of its health benefits, sending it up in smoke.
So you're telling me that most vapor pens burn so hot they produce smoke, not vapor?
Correct. Keep away from those standard vaporizer pens and turn to Dr. Dabber. Doctor's orders.
Less heat, more flavor.
Ganjapreneur.com, your guide to the cannabis business world. Ganjapreneur.com is a comprehensive resource for cannabis professionals and entrepreneurs. Download the Ganjapreneur app on your smartphone or tablet to catch up on cannabis industry news, scroll through our daily job listings, and learn about successful cannabis companies, executives, and investors. Ganjapreneur.com, helping Ganjapreneurs grow.
from high atop Mount Soledad in San Diego, California, 100 feet above sea level. Good morning. It's good news with cannabis nurse Heather.
This plant is amazing. Positive change is happening. We